This is the One Girl Revolution podcast, a podcast that highlights the stories of world-changing women and girls across the country. We hope that these stories inspire you, but even more so, we hope that these stories help you to see your own value, your purpose, and your power to change the world through your life. Every woman and girl is a One Girl Revolution. Hello and welcome to the One Girl Revolution podcast. It's your girl Kate here. I am so honored and so excited to welcome Lauren Costabile, the incredible founder of Hearts of Joy International. I've been following Lauren in the mission of her beautiful organization for years now, and I've been meaning to have her on the podcast for what feels like forever. But I truly believe that everything happens in perfect timing and there are no coincidences. So this conversation is coming at just the right moment. Hearts of Joy International is a nonprofit organization that provides life-saving heart surgery for children with Down syndrome in countries where this medical care is either unavailable or inaccessible. Through this mission of healing and love, Lauren and her team serve in places like Uganda, the Philippines, India, Mexico, and beyond, advocating for children with Down syndrome and walking alongside families through the journey of heart surgery and recovery. It's truly extraordinary, and it all started with one trip. Lauren volunteered in Uganda and met children with Down syndrome who were in desperate need of medical care, children who were being often overlooked, misunderstood, or rejected. She quickly learned that in many parts of the world, children born with Down syndrome and congenital heart defects are denied surgery, and without it, they often don't survive. So Lauren followed the call of her heart and founded Hearts of Joy International. In this powerful episode, Lauren shares her personal journey, how her faith and passion led to the creation of this life-changing organization, and the incredible lives that have been touched and saved through her mission. She also shares what she's learned from children and families she serves, the importance of seeing and celebrating the dignity of every human being, and how each one of us can make a difference. This is an inspiring conversation that you won't want to miss. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Lauren. Lauren, welcome to the One Girl Revolution podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you on. And like I shared with you before we started recording, I've been following your organization for a while now, and very similar to everybody just heard from Ellen Boyer from the Brett Boyer Foundation, who I know is a friend of yours. She was a similar one. I had followed her for years. I followed Hearts of Joy International for years. And so I just feel like it's the time for both of you ladies to be on. And I'm so excited to have you on to share about your incredible organization and your incredible story. So thank you for making the time to be on. Before we get into the great work that you're doing with Hearts of Joy International, I would love to rewind and hear a little bit about your story, who you are, where you're from, and just a little bit about your life.
Yeah, I'm originally from New Jersey, grew up in a big Italian, loud musical family. So that was really fun growing up. I'm the middle child of 5 siblings. So there's always something happening. And yeah, I started at 17 working with, volunteering at a camp for children with disabilities. And that was sort of where I say, like, God planted the first seed in my heart of, wow, this community is really amazing. And that's kind of what kickstarted my curiosity for the Down syndrome community and for those with disabilities. It was really this camp in upstate New York that I would say, like, literally changed my life and shifted my perspective. And then that sort of put me on the trajectory of wanting to work with those with disabilities. So I studied recreational therapy in college, like music, dance, art therapy. I say all the fun stuff with this population. And it really was so fun. And then for a bit, I worked at an adult day program for adults with disabilities, and just kind of like, yeah, really getting involved in the community. And then that led me, we can get into it later on, but to the beginnings of Hearts of Joy. This sort of set me up, yeah, for that.
So I want to go back to the camp when you're working at that camp. First of all, how did that come about? Did you just see an ad and you're like, cool, that sounds fun? Or was there kind of something that pulled you into that? And then what was it about that time, that camp, that experience that really kind of opened your eyes to the disability community?
Yeah, so it's funny. My older brother actually did the camp every year, and he would be like, Lauren, you have to do it. You have to do it. And, you're in high school, your priorities are all, crazy. And I was like, no, no. I kept saying no to him. And then I think it was my senior year, so I was 17, that I finally said, okay, I'll do it, because I'm graduating. This is a new opportunity. And I knew my brother was going to be there. So there was like a comfort there, because I had never really done anything like that before. And I always love sharing this story because it really speaks to the heart of someone with Down syndrome. But so it's like in this big retreat center. It's run by the Marist Brothers. It's called Esopus, Mid-Hudson Valley Camp in New York. And we're all like in this huge gym, waiting for our campers to be called, assigned to the counselors and to the groups. And I'm quite like petite and small. So I'm like really shy, awkward in the corner, just I don't know any like how to act, what to do. Everyone's running around screaming, and a lot of the kids were actually like much taller than me. So I was just kind of like shy in the corner, and I made eye contact with a boy with Down syndrome like across the gym, and I remember just like smiling at him. And he smiled back at me. And then before I knew it, he's literally running full force across the gym, comes over, gives me this like big bear hug. And I just remember chatting with him being like, it's also my first year. What's your name? And just like becoming friends with him. And I just remember such a release, like, wow, this boy knew that I needed a friend. He knew that I needed a hug in that moment, that I was nervous. He like kind of scanned the room and said, this girl, I'm going to go bring her some joy. And I always laugh and roast my brother because like he was in the room and was like, Lauren's fine. Um, but this boy like had the wherewithal, and that I just had a special gift to say, okay, this girl needs a friend, and I'm going to go make her feel just more comfortable and spread some love. And that's never left me, of wow, like I want to be like that in those situations and in spreading that love and light to people. And so I said, wow, like the heart of someone with Down syndrome is different, and it's really special in such a beautiful way. And that kind of just has always sat with me as, okay, like I want to learn more. I want to be more like that.
Yeah, joy is the word that comes to mind when I think about the Down syndrome community or anybody with Down
Yeah.
syndrome. And somebody that I had on this podcast, actually, Christy Shana, who runs an organization here in Michigan called Kids on the Go. They do programming for children with differences and disabilities. And even anytime that I've taught a class there a couple of years, and anytime I've had any child with Down syndrome in my class, I always think about joy, because there's just like this joy and this awe and wonder that just kind of opens my eyes. And I know that was the same for you.
Yeah. It's yeah, I have joy right here. I have like that's why I named it Hearts of Joy, because I was thinking of the word to describe those with Down syndrome, like hope, love, joy, fun, amazing. There's so many words. Such a light, but joy kept coming back, and I said, no, yeah. It's joy. It's what these children embody, and it's also kind of has created a dual meaning within the work, which we could talk about later. But it's also our job as Hearts of Joy to bring joy to these families in this difficult situation when they're in the hospital with their child receiving this heart surgery. So kind of has a dual meaning now, but joy is
Yeah.
the word. So
Yeah, joy is the word. So, how did Hearts of Joy International come to be? You do this camp, it was life-changing for you. You go on, you go through school, and then at what point did you say there's such a need here and I want to be a part of the change?
yeah, so I had a friend, my best friend, who actually moved to Uganda in 2016. And she started a nonprofit called Imprint Hope. So, working with all children with disabilities to help destigmatize disabilities in Uganda and provide therapies for them. So, PT and OT and speech and all things like that. And so, she had moved there, started this nonprofit. So, I went to visit her, thinking, oh, maybe I'll help her and learn more about this need. But really, I had no other intention but to visit my friend. I say God is funny in this way because curiosity got the best of me. And I'm like, well, what do people with, like, how are people with Down syndrome treated in a country like Uganda? And so I got in touch with the local Down syndrome community. We visited several families in their homes, several children, and what I saw was really devastating. They were really not understood or seen as the beautiful gift that I know that they are. They were seen as a burden. They're really just like hidden away in their homes. There's this deep shame associated with having a child with Down syndrome and this stigma. And so it kept coming on my own heart to ask, well, what about the heart defect? Because I remembered back to that camp, a lot of my campers had a big scar on their chest. And I remember as a kid, like I was only 17 myself, asking the directors, well, what is that? And why is it only the children with Down syndrome that have this? And they explained to me, well, 50% of children with Down syndrome are born with a cardiac defect. And I just remember putting that in my back pocket and being like, okay, that's interesting, because you would have never known. These kids are swimming in the pool, they're playing tennis, they're playing basketball, they're running around perfectly healthy as adults or teenagers. But when I was standing on that red dirt road in Uganda, I just remember it was so heavy on my heart to ask about the cardiac defect. Well, what about this child? Did this child have a hole in their heart, or did this child? And I remember they just really were not aware and they did not connect the two. And so I just sort of sat with that, like, well, I know it's 50%, so that has to be a lot of children here that have this or are dealing with this or maybe die from it because they don't know that they have it. And so I visited one last baby. She was 6 months old, and I knew that that was the sweet spot to get the surgery. That's the perfect age, is 6 to 8 months. And so I remember holding this baby, like her heart beating against mine, and it was very, very labored, her breathing. And I just remember God said to me, help her, help this little one. And I didn't really understand what that call even was in the moment, because I'm looking at her, I'm like, she's literally perfect. Like, she doesn't need my help. She's the most beautiful little baby I've ever seen, like button nose, beautiful brown eyes, curly brown hair. I'm like, she's perfect. Like, what, she's so beautiful. And I just remember saying, okay, but there's something here. And I had never seen any report about her heart. No one ever said she had a heart defect, but I just had a feeling. And so I ended up going back to the US like soon after that, but I could not get this little girl out of my mind. Her name was Elizabeth. And I just remember keeping in touch with my friend who lived there and keeping in touch with the family. And it took us several months just to get them to check if she had a heart defect. And when they checked, she did have 3 holes in her heart. And that caused a lot of tension in the family when she got this diagnosis. And they were hopeless because they didn't have the money. Now they had the knowledge, but they didn't have the money to correct it. And so I just knew this is how I'm supposed to help her. And it was a crazy, wild journey, but we ended up taking her and another child. So I had taught a class when I was there as well to a few mothers in the village about Down syndrome. I explained these are the physical features, this is what they look like. If you ever see a child like this, the most important thing you can do is take them to a hospital and check their heart. And so the translator from that class had called me and said, we found a baby because of what you said, and she actually has a heart defect. Can you help her? So once I started helping one, the word kind of got out. And this was before I formed the organization. And so I had been raising money. I made a GoFundMe, I made a video online, and I explained I met this baby. She needs heart surgery. And then we were over raising the money. So then I kind of knew, okay, again, God is up to something. And then we get this call about this other baby. So we raised $10,000 for both of the girls to get surgery. But what had happened was they were on the list in Uganda at the hospital. There's just one cardiac hospital in Uganda that does this surgery for millions of children. And they're very, very overloaded with their capacity. And so then I get a call saying, actually, the girls are no longer on the list. We're not able to do it here. And I didn't understand at the time, like that was because of the stigma, the broken healthcare system. And so I'm sitting here distraught. I have $10,000 that I raised, and God told me this. So I'm really confused. And so I continue to pray. And I personally love Mother Teresa so much. I just love the way that she just served the poor, but also her love for those with disabilities. She's always pictured carrying a baby. I think she's such a beautiful example of what it really means to just love someone where they're at, and that's it. And just truly serve and love just another human being. And so I really looked to her a lot in these situations. And especially in the beginning, I just remember thinking, well, Mother Teresa always writes in her books, like she's very clear with God, asking for money or asking for things, like very convicted heart. And so I said, God, like, I knew that that prompting was from God in Uganda. I said, okay, like this is what you want. I'm pretty sure of it, but you have to send us a cardiac team. You have to send us a hospital because now I have no idea what to do. Because I thought that I was going to go to Uganda and the girls were going to get the surgery in Uganda. And now that's no longer a possibility. And so I'm continuing to pray, and months go by, and with this particular defect that these girls had, like it really progresses. It can progress very quickly over time, and then they become inoperable, and then it's too late. And so I knew that. And so, you get stressed because we're going as fast as we can, but months are going by. And so I had emailed every hospital in this country, in Italy, in the UK, in like Switzerland, like everywhere, all over the world. I said, we have to find a hospital. We have to find a cardiac team. Somewhere has to take them. And so I'm continuing to pray. And right when I was about to give up, I get an email from a man in Uganda, which at this point I had forgotten who I emailed or called because I'd emailed so many people, and 90% of those people rejected the girl, said no. And so I was just having a difficult time with it, as you can imagine. And I get this email and it says, we've accepted the girls. We saw your application. We're actually an organization in Uganda. They no longer exist anymore, but 7 years ago they did. Thank God. And they said, we just want to let you know our hospital's in India. And I thought, oh my gosh, Mother Teresa worked in India. Like, this is a sign. Great. I'd never been, but I'd always wanted to go because I love Mother Teresa and I wanted to see where she worked. And I thought, this is so cool. And then I continued to read the email. And at the bottom of the email, it said, I just also want to make you aware that the hospital where we're sending you, this was in Bangalore, they said the man who started the hospital, founded the hospital, is an Indian cardiologist. His name is Dr. Devi Shetty, and he was Mother Teresa's cardiologist. Up until the day that she died, he was at the mother house at the convent, like next to her bedside. He operated on her heart. He touched her heart. So when I read that, I almost fell off my chair in just disbelief and, okay, wow, like this is anointed by God. This is what we're supposed to do. Mother Teresa literally sent us her cardiologist when I prayed. And so I went. I got on a plane. I picked up the girls in Uganda. We flew to India. And the little baby, this is how much time had gone by. She was 6 months when I met her. She turned 1 year in the hospital. We got her a little birthday cake, even though she couldn't really eat it. And all the nurses sang happy birthday to her. She received her surgery. And then the other baby was 2.5 at that point. And so they told me, Lauren, it's too late for her. Like, she's inoperable, meaning they can't repair the lungs without the heart failing, and they can't repair the heart without the lungs failing. And so she will not be able to receive her surgery. And they told me she'll live till she's about 10 years old. And she actually passed away when she was 5. And the whole thing was really devastating for me, but it was really that moment that I realized we're not going to sit in this pain. I'm going to do something to change this, because I don't want anyone to have the same fate as this child because of pure ignorance or lack of awareness or lack of funding. I'm going to do something to change this. I felt really called that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of children around the world that just don't know about this need. And families need to be made aware, and they need to be supported, both financially, but also emotionally. As I was there with the families during this whole process, I saw a lot of gaps in the system. And I say, like, God was forming the foundation of Hearts of Joy through this experience. And I didn't see it coming. I'll say that. But when it was made clear, like, this is the path, I was very much just so peaceful and filled with joy that I get the opportunity to serve and help families in this way. It was just such a gift. So I filed for nonprofit status soon after that. And then the next year we started the mission, and it was like no time in between. I worked really hard to get it off the ground. And now we've helped, I think it's 155 children in 5 countries in the past 6 years. So it's just, yeah, crazy and such a gift. We're working in Uganda, India, Mexico, and the Philippines, as well as here in the States for children that, yeah, have Down syndrome and need heart surgery. So,
It's so incredible what you accomplished in such a short period of time. And I have to say, I got chills when you told about the Mother Teresa's doctor being involved. Like that is so amazing. And I think your story is so inspiring to me because a lot of times we see something, we see a need in the world, and we're like, we talk ourselves out of doing something about it because we're like, oh, well, I don't have the funding, I don't have the time, I don't have the resources, the connections, or anything. But from
yeah.
my experience, and I know it's your experience as well, sometimes if you just put one foot out and then you put one foot in front of the other and you just keep going, the plan unfolds, right? Like it's exactly, and just your willingness, your yes, and your willingness to do something opened up a world of opportunities. And I know that Hearts of Joy International is just going to continue to grow and evolve. And it's incredible what you've accomplished in a few short years. I also have to say, and this is not going to surprise you at all, that Claire Byrne of Imprint Hope that you mentioned, she was one of the first guests that we ever had on this podcast like 6 years ago, which is crazy. So it aligns even with your timeline. I'm like trying to play. I'm like, how that's so amazing. So
Yes.
she is such a gift in what she's done with Imprint Hope. And it's so fun. Like the friendships, the connections between different One Girls. And I'm not surprised at all that she's a friend of yours.
Yeah, that is so cool. It's funny. I was going to recommend her too. I was like, gotta have
I
Claire.
gotta have her back on because I feel
Yeah,
like
you
in six
should.
years, so much has changed, and I follow
Oh,
everything that she's doing. And yeah. Every day, women and girls are changing the world, lifting up their communities, and making a difference. At One Girl Revolution, we are dedicated to highlighting the stories of world changing women and girls to inspire the world. But we can't do it alone. This year, we're celebrating 6 years of telling these world changing stories, and we need your help to keep it going. Become a monthly donor by giving just $6 a month in honor of our anniversary. Every dollar, every single dollar fuels our mission, keeping the podcast going, expanding our reach, and making sure these voices and these stories are heard far and wide. If you believe in the power of women's voices and their stories, if you want to be a part of the revolution, donate today. Go to onegirlrevolution.com/donate and be a part of the revolution. So for people that are listening, I know you talked about Hearts of Joy International, but talk about the mission. What is the mission of the organization? And talk about how you are serving these individuals and families in need.
yeah. So Hearts of Joy International provides life-saving heart surgery for children with Down syndrome around the world, working in Uganda, India, Mexico, the Philippines, and here in the States. And so what that means is we are financially providing the surgeries for these children as well as emotional support for the families, because we see that it's not enough to just give money to a problem, that we need to really be there to support the families through this situation, which I know you learned through Ellen's interview as well. It's such a difficult process for families, and then add on that stigma because all of our families are living in countries where Down syndrome is not accepted, it's not understood. And so we're trying to break that even just within our families, so then they can then go out and share that within their communities, like, no, my child does matter, my child is worth this care, my child has dignity. And so all of those things, and we found through building these relationships that is the best way forward. Again, it's not enough to just tell something to someone, but our team is physically present. So I go, and we also have a nurse on our team who travels with the families every time that there's a surgery. And so we do that for a specific purpose because we want to be present and we want to support them through these situations, whether that's like you need a hug or you want us to pray with you or for you or take a walk around the block, whatever it is, we are there to support them. We do a lot of different activities with the moms in the hospitals. Actually, I'm wearing these bracelets that we make. So these are beads from Uganda, and the moms love to do this. So it's kind of like a anti-anxiety activity because you're like, it's a tactile, like with your hands, and you're touching the little beads, but it really is a very like calming activity. We put on music, and then we're dancing, and it just becomes such a joyful thing. We make these bracelets and the moms love it. So that's just really fun. And we do a few things like that just to kind of, like I said, bring that joy into a situation that is pretty hopeless, as we feel that that's our call and that's our job. And also, we are very strategic in the way that we operate. And so we have hospitals that we partner and collaborate alongside in each of those countries. And so we have hospitals in the Philippines, we have hospitals in India, and we send children from the Philippines and from Uganda to India, which is so fun. And then we have several hospitals in the Philippines that we have our children from the Philippines that receive basic surgeries there. Anything more complex has to be done in India, just due to the severity and the complexity of need. But it's really cool because it's such a blend of all the cultures, which really our greater goal is to end the stigma. And so the way we're doing that is having the native doctors operate on their own people, because it shows them, it dignifies them, but it also dignifies the child. And this child deserves care, even if society says that they don't. We're kind of moving the needle and shifting that perspective, even within the healthcare systems, of partnering with the native doctors. They speak the language so they can explain properly to the families. We also have translators and nurses and that work for us in other countries, but it's really just quite such a beautiful cultural experience. And I love it because what is uniting all of us? It's Down syndrome. The very thing that their culture says should be thrown away, is not worthy of living, is the very thing that is uniting all of us and bringing such joy and light and love. And yeah, it's such a gift. We just had well, not just, but we had a group. I think we did 4 kids from India, 4 kids from Uganda, and 4 kids from the Philippines, all in India in October for Down Syndrome Awareness Month. And it was so amazing. And one of my favorite parts is seeing the moms interact with each other, because it speaks so loudly. Yeah, just better than anything that I could say with my mouth. But when they interact with each other, they're sharing diapers and formula. And again, they're all united off of the fact that their child has Down syndrome and a heart defect. And this is a woman from thousands of miles across the world. So they feel much less alone, and they really feel understood and loved. And yeah, we did that in the very, very beginning just because that was scheduling, and it worked out that we sent children from the Philippines and children from Uganda at the same time. And then when I saw the fruit of that and how they interacted with each other and how powerful that was to have them there at the same time, we always do that now. We never stopped because it's just such a beautiful part of the program that has developed.
Yeah, it's so interesting as you're talking, and I'm reflecting on my conversation with Ellen, or, we've had Ruby's Rainbow on, Extra Lucky Moms, all these different organizations, but even the moms telling their stories and talking about how isolating it can
Yeah.
feel when you first get the diagnosis, especially because it's like, I
Yeah.
don't know anyone else who has Down syndrome. I don't even know what this means. Like, it can be so scary and isolating. And obviously, the medical community doesn't always do the best job of expressing what Down syndrome means or what this means for the family. But what's so powerful to me is the community, the support. Like, the second that there's like a moment that happens, and even Ellen talked about it, how there's almost like this suddenly moment where it's like, I can do this. I got this. I'm going to be like, I can't wait to meet my baby. Or when you meet your baby and you're holding this sweet little baby in your hands, but thinking about the power of community and the support system. And it's like, once they get through the kind of shock and uncertainty and afraid of like what is to come, once they embrace it, it's this incredible support system. And it just, these children change the world. They are, all the girls are One Girl Revolutions, changing the world every single day.
Yeah, it's the best. Our community is so supportive and loving and just the best. Yeah, it's such a gift to be in this community. But yeah, we just embrace each other so much, and it's just really so special. Yeah, I love I love our community. The Down syndrome community is great.
So you've worked with over 150 children, like you said. Is there a story? I know you shared like the stories at the beginning, right, of the two girls that you fundraised for, but thinking about all of the interactions that you've had with the families, with individuals, is there a story or two that you feel like really illustrates the power of the work that you're doing that you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, there's one that comes to mind of a child in the Philippines. So she was actually part of our first group to ever get surgery in 2019. So there was 5 of them. And we typically like to do it in groups like that, again, for the moms to have that community and be able to relate to one another and experience it together. And so we went over to the Philippines and they have to do pre-operational testing and pass all these tests from the doctor to make sure that they're suitable for the surgery. And so everyone was passing and have everything on schedule except for one of the children. Her blood levels were really high. And so they said, you know what, we're going to wait on her. So everyone else got the surgery. The mom was very disappointed. And then like a couple more days go by, she tests again and her blood levels were okay. So they did the operation. But then afterwards, they were still irregular. So they kept testing her for things. And I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but cancer is also prevalent in our community. So they had tested her for leukemia and she tested positive. So they actually told us, if you did not bring this child in at the time that you did to get her operation, she would have died because she would have never been able to withstand the chemo if she didn't have a healed heart. And so it was just such crazy timing. And then because she was able to get the heart surgery, she was able to beat the cancer. I literally just saw her. We went there in March and she's like 7 years old now. Yeah, walking around, talking. She goes to school. And it was just so nice to see their family again because I mean, that's an extreme version of one of our cases because she ended up having cancer, but it was just it's all about the timing. And a lot of our children are like that. Like if we didn't do this, intervene at this time, it could have been a very different outcome. And I always think that story is so powerful because like she's like a perfectly healthy little girl now. And just to watch them grow up. I mean, there's a lot of stories of the children, but for me, one of my favorite parts is watching them grow up because I travel every some odd month. So I get to see, we have these big community events too when we're in town. So we bring all the patients together, all the families, like siblings, grandparents, parents, and it's just really such a fun celebration. Every time we do a mission, we do that as well, a community event. And so I do get to witness and see the children grow up. Some of them are even in their like teenage years now because they were a little bit older when they got the surgery. So it's wild. I don't think I'll ever get over just the miracle of their lives and when they go from point A to point B and how sick and malnourished and tiny and just like really difficult it is in the beginning, and then how much the surgery literally saves and completely changes the trajectory of their life. It's such a
Yeah.
gift to be invited into that space.
Yeah, it's so incredible. And the community that you've created through Hearts of Joy International is just amazing. And I can't wait to see where you go from here. How
Yeah.
do you get connected to all the individuals that I'm sure it's a lot of different ways, but how do you get connected to the individuals and the families that you work with?
Yeah, so it's a lot of recommendations. So we partner again with the local hospitals in each of those countries. So the hospitals send us many referrals. We have just a perpetual wait list because the need is just so great. And we've created this community of cardiologists in each country. So they also recommend, because they work at several different hospitals or clinics, and then different organizations, other NGOs or nonprofits in these countries will also recommend. Sometimes when we're just out in the field, people will say, "Oh, that's Hearts of Joy. Here's my child with Down syndrome." Or Imprint Hope recommends people to us. Yeah, just different people in the community, online, through social media. We have like on our website a refer a child form. So it's funny, in the beginning, I thought, oh, maybe we're going to have to look for them. But the second I put this into creation, they came running, and it just speaks to the great need. Like there's so many children that need this care. And again, it's not just I'm paying for your surgery, it's so much more than that. They become part of our family, and we're with them to support them throughout this child's life. Anything cardiac related, we are there. If they need multiple surgeries for their heart, we will support that. A lot of our kids have pacemakers put in, which means in 5, 10, 15 years, as their heart grows, they're going to need to replace that. So we're kind of in it for the long haul with these families, which is, again, very unique and special.
Yeah, and
Sorry.
it's so important because with what you're dealing with, it's not just like one and done. Like, okay, bye, nice meeting you. Especially that support system. We all need community, and especially bringing these families together who are all experiencing maybe a little bit different, but their stories are a little bit different, but they're all experiencing the same thing, and just knowing that they have support and that they're not alone. And I imagine for these kids too, like how incredible to have other kids that are just like you or who have gone through it, right? You talked about the older, the teens, having younger kids see, oh wow, they went through it and I can too.
Yes, it speaks volumes too. I love having parents that have gone through it and their kids are older in school or in therapy to be able to speak to the younger parents, because I often say our moms can't see beyond the child's, or yeah, beyond the child in their lap. And so they have no hope. And so to show them, here's an example of a child who went through the exact same situation as you, and look what he's doing. Um, we have an orientation where we explain to the moms before they leave, before they get on an airplane, just different things to prepare them. And we actually have a mom whose child got surgery in 2019. And I think he's about 8 or 9 now. And so that's like a huge just source of hope. And okay, wow, like this child did that, and my child's also going to be okay. And I think, yeah, it's in creating that community. It kind of, it's just a ripple effect. And we're just like the connectors, is what I say. Like we're just connecting all the pieces together, but there's like a huge ripple beyond even what I can see at the moment. Because these moms, yeah, then they become friends, and then the children like get to know each other. And it's just the coolest thing. I was like in heaven. We went to the Philippines in March. March 21st is World Down Syndrome Day. And so I had the vision to do 21 surgeries in March in the Philippines. And so we did it. And it was so cool. We had a huge party with like over 100 kids just in the Philippines. And we did 21 surgeries. It was incredible. And it was really just so cool to see all of the families together and all the kids that have grown up and to hear their stories. And yeah, it was just really so beautiful. And something else we also do in the Philippines specifically, and this is because of the landscape, the geography, there's about over 7,000 islands in the Philippines. So it's very large and very spread out. And so our hospitals are in the main city in Manila. We fly children in from all over the islands, all the provinces, to get this surgery, because there's very few cardiologists that can help them or resources for them on the islands. And so we started doing this several years ago, where we would do these screenings where we would bring the cardiologists from the city, probably like 4 or 5 of them, and we would set up like a pop-up screening where they could do echocardiograms, heart scans for the kids. We educate them about Down syndrome and the heart defect. And again, they build that community. So we think we saw over 70 children this in March, and 15 of them needed operations. So since then, we've been scheduling and preparing and those kids. So that's also something that we're, yeah, hoping to continue to do and grow, because that not only educates communities, but also fulfills the need. And saying, okay, like your child actually has a heart defect, and this is, this could be scary, but we're here to support you. We're going to provide the surgery. You don't have to worry about it. That's like my favorite thing. I've said everything is my favorite thing, but I have a lot of favorite things within this mission, because it's just these small, just intimate moments with the families are really, yeah, just such a source of joy. And it's really just so, yeah, amazing to be able to help and serve these families in this way. Because I think about myself, if I was ever in that situation, yeah, like as a human being, you want to have that community and support and know that you're not alone, but you need yeah, you just like need to be told that or shown that, I say. And so that's what we do. Yeah, we're there, we're with them, we're yeah, on it for we're here for the journey. So it's yeah.
It's incredible. It's incredible what you've built and how Hearts of Joy International has grown and evolved through the years. And I know that there's so much more to come. Looking for stories of women who are changing the world? The One Girl Revolution podcast is your go to for inspiration and empowerment. Subscribe today on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts and never miss an episode. Let's celebrate the power of women together. So I want to know, where does Hearts of Joy International go from here, and what's your vision for the future, like even thinking 5 or 10 years down the line?
Yeah, I mean, we would love to continue to help as many children as possible. And again, our greater vision is to end that stigma. So the way that we will do that is by continuing to provide this education and courses for families, for healthcare providers, for people around the world, even in our own community about the heart defect, to really just educate people and highlight the dignity and the gift of these children by putting them out there and showing the world that they have dignity, they have value, they have something to contribute to the world, and they matter just as much as anyone else. And yeah, like in Uganda, we have several, well, most of the patients that they're, like I said, they're kept in their homes. They're not shared with the community. But since going through our program and us explaining to them, you don't have to be scared to take them outside. And even if people shout at you or ridicule you or shame you, you are brave, you're strong, you can do this and still show your child and not be ashamed and all these things. And so they started to do that. The moms started to bring their babies to the market, and instead of people saying, ew, get that away from me, which is what they thought would happen, it was the complete opposite. They were being approached by other women or families that said, hey, what is that? My child also looks like that. What is that? And then that created that ripple of education of, well, this is Down syndrome. Have you checked your child's heart? And actually, we've gotten a lot of referrals that way too, through other moms who've gone through the program. And we said, okay, it's working because they're creating that ripple amongst themselves now. So again, we plant that seed and God does the rest. But yeah, I would just continue to do that in all the countries where we work and continue to plant a deep rooted seed. Like I believe in going deeper where we are and continuing to build those relationships and build the foundation. And I really hope that we change the cultures of these countries through our example and through these families, even cross culturally. Like I've had a lot of people at the hospital in India share with me, like, wow, we love the Ugandan culture, or we love the Filipino culture, or the moms, or it's just like so cool and something I never planned for in that way. But again, I've seen how God has formed this whole thing. It's something so much greater than myself, than even beyond the organization that God is doing through this mission and softening hearts and really showing us the um, just the purpose. Like a human being is a human being. It does not matter what their diagnosis is. They are a human being. And so therefore they have dignity and value. And God creates everyone for a purpose. So who am I to say, well, you don't deserve to be here? No way. We all deserve to be here, and everyone has something to contribute in their own unique way. And so we're just trying to highlight that. Hearts of Joy is the way that we do that. But that is really, yeah, that is what we're trying to accomplish, striving to accomplish. The rest of my life, I will fight for that. But yeah.
You're doing it, and you're such an example to all of us, because there is so much work to be done in our own communities, in our own cultures, to spread awareness and advocate for, like you said, the dignity of every single person. And we can all do that. We can all be a part of the mission. And yeah, so on that note, how
Yeah.
can people get involved in Hearts of Joy International? And I will, of course, put your website, your social media links in the show notes so people can easily get in touch with you. But how can they support your work, and how can they get involved?
Yeah, you can check out our website. We have lots of information on there. You can donate or sign up to be a monthly donor, which would really help us. You can follow us on social media. There's even a tab on our website if you want to dedicate your birthday to Hearts of Joy. It's a really fun thing that people do. And yeah, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all the things. Follow us. Feel free to email us. There's a contact page on the website if you felt inspired by our work or you want to get involved or anything like that. I always love hearing from people that this mission resonates with. It's just so amazing. So please feel free to reach out or message us, or I would love to connect.
I always say on this podcast that the free and easy way for anyone to spread awareness and support an organization that they hear about on this podcast is just to follow and share. So follow Hearts of Joy International. I will put, like I said, your website, all your social media links. So I encourage people to follow. And when you see a post pop up that resonates with you, share. And also you never know who might see it too. Like that's what I always think about is most
Yeah.
of us, obviously we know our friends and family that follow us, but all of us have like random people that just started following us on social media, and you never know who might need to know about Hearts of Joy International. And so I just encourage people to share your posts, share about the organization, share this episode, of course, because you never know who might need to know about Hearts of Joy International.
Yeah, thank you. We'd love to hear from you.
Lauren, if you could get to the very root of why you do what you do every single day, because I know you're seeing a lot of positive stories and a lot of positive outcomes, but I know there are also really difficult outcomes that you experience. And even I think back to one of the first stories that you shared about the child that wasn't able to get the heart surgery, and it's really heartbreaking. And I know there are some days where it's probably really difficult. If you could get to the very root of why you do what you do every single day, the driving force behind your mission and behind like what fuels you, what would you say that root is?
I would really say it's my faith because it helps me in those difficult moments and it encourages me in the happy ones or in the joy-filled ones. But like you said, there are, yeah, a lot of challenges because we're dealing with children that are sick. And so the outcome is not always predictable. And so there's a risk in what we're doing. But I always say it is beyond worth it for these children. And I have learned so much from them and from their families. I mean, the heroic and courageous example of their mothers. Yeah, and I see the face of God in all of these children, and they just teach me so much about really, again, what it means to be human in the most just beautiful way. And I think yeah, I think I would be lost if I didn't have God in my faith because that is the driving force behind everything that I do. And again, it's how I got into this because I would have never, I mean, I've always loved Down syndrome and I always knew that that was my calling, but I would have never kind of planned it this way myself. This is only a story that God could write. And I'm very much aware of that and really grateful for that. And I think that is what he can do with a simple yes, with our obedience and just our willingness to serve and to love in the ways that he did. And that's also why I love Mother Teresa so much because she's such a beautiful example of that and such a strong, and she's like a woman. So it's cool to see that. I mean, she faced a lot of adversity and difficulty because she was a foreigner coming into India. So I always think about that and serving the Indian people and yeah, I actually had the opportunity to go to Calcutta and visit where she served and a lot of the homes that she built. And it just was crazy and amazing. I like walked down the steps that she walked. And I just think it's such a gift that there have been such amazing, incredible examples that have gone before us that can encourage us in those difficult moments. And even through like your podcast, I mean, I'm sure you have talked to so many incredible women. It's just so inspiring to see the example of people that really have taken that and said, okay, these are my gifts and talents. This is how I'm called to serve the world, and I am going to do it. Because how many of us don't do it out of fear? And I thought about that because we're all human. We have weaknesses. I thought about, no, I can't do this in the beginning. It's too hard. I don't have the money. I don't have the resources. What do I know about starting a nonprofit? But that conviction has always run deeper for me maybe that's the root, is that conviction from God to say, you can do this and you are meant to do this. You are born to do this. I also want to share with you. So people with Down syndrome, like a sign of that is like a crease in the hand. And so I actually have that in this hand. And so when I was born, they told my parents, like, Lauren has Down syndrome. Obviously, I do not. But I like to share and say, like, God wrote the pathway to my life in my hand. So if I ever forgot it, he's like, it's right there. Down syndrome is your calling. This is what you're meant to do. And so that always, like, whenever there's a difficult moment, I'm just like, okay, my hand, like, we could do this. And it's cute because I take pictures with the kids and their hands. Like, I have a lot of pictures of the patients with their little hands and my hands at the line. So anyway, God knows, and he writes the best stories. It really does.
I love that so much. And I talk a lot about how we're as unique as our fingerprint, right? And we were put on this earth for a specific mission, and we're the only person that can leave that specific imprint. But now I'm like gonna always think about you just sharing about the hand, how our mission is right here. And we just have
Yeah.
to do the work and be willing to say yes and move forward. But Lauren, you are such a one girl revolution. That's why I wanted to have you on this podcast. And I feel like your last few comments kind of teed this up beautifully. Who is a one girl revolution in your life?
I know I said this like 5 times, but it would be Mother Teresa.
I figured. Tell us why.
And apparently we were like the same height. So anytime I see like a statue of her or something, I'm like, we're the same height. Allegedly. Who knows? I think she was a little taller than me. Again, it was because of the way that she just served unconditionally and just loved the way that God does. And yeah, she just really, really loved those with disabilities. And I appreciate that because you don't always see that. You know, there's a lot of people helping the poor, and that's beautiful. But the vulnerable, those with disabilities, those with Down syndrome, those that are often forgotten, she was at the forefront of serving and loving them before it was like before social media or before any of this, where people were even aware of what she was doing. She was doing it. And I just really honor that and admire that. And yeah.
She is a one girl revolution, truly. And I love what you talked about before, how there are women who have come before us that kind of set the path. But also, I love looking back, and I know you have that as well with all these kids that you're working with. We can learn so much from different generations, right? People that have come before us, but also the up and coming generations, and even from children, learning so much from them. So, Lauren, you are such a gift. I'm so grateful to have had you on the podcast. I'm so honored to know you and know about your great work. I will be sure to put your website, social media links, all of that in the show notes. But before I let you go, I always end this podcast on one question. So I'd like to ask you, if you could leave women and girls around the world with one message, what would it be?
Oh, that's good. Be yourself because you are the only you that was created. And so you are unrepeatable. And what you have to offer is something that only you can give, which is so cool. Like what I do is different than you, and what you do is different than me, but we all have something to offer. Disability or no disability, it doesn't matter. Each one of us has something great that we can give to the world. And I just believe when we truly live in that mindset and see people in that way, like this person is a gift, that's how we change the world. When we just be ourselves.
So true. And you are such a great example of that. And again, I'm so grateful, Lauren, to have had you on the podcast. Thank you so much for being on the One Girl Revolution podcast. And thank you for all the incredible work that you do.
Thank you for having me. This was so great.
For more from One Girl Revolution, to listen to all of our podcast episodes, watch our Emmy-nominated documentary series, follow us on social media, donate to our nonprofit organization, and more, please visit onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com.